Welcome to ENG 328, Study Session 13. Jack Mapanje of Malawi. Introduction. Jack Mapanje is perhaps the most outstanding of the Malawian poets, a social critic with a strong feeling for art and aesthetic objects is evident from his poetic works. He has been detained a number of times as a result of his vitriolic punchings of the Malawian leadership. In this study session, you will learn about his works, learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to discuss three thematic expressions from Mapanje's work, identify the services of images and literary devices adopted by Mapanje to carry his message across. Themes in Mapanje theory. From the first poem, Kabula Curio Shop, it is evident that Jack Mapanje is a social critic with a determined feeling for art and aesthetic objects. The poet is angry at the treatment meted out to art and artists by modern tourist industry, which commercializes everything. The annoyance of the protagonist emerges from the contrast between the first and second stanzas. The first stanza portrays the artist, the carver, hard at work, making it clear that much labor, skill, and concentration have gone into the piece of carving. Black wood between carefully bowed legs, the hide red over billows and smoke, the sharpening of axes, carvers, the chopping, the whittling, and such, carving such, scooping and scooping, then the sandpapering and smoothing. In the second stanza, we see the same product broken and left in a tiny corner of the curio shop. Now, a broken symbol thrown careless in the nook of a curio shop. Lioness, broken legs, broken neck, broken Huda. There is also the issue of the artist not getting the worth of his tedious labor, such energy release and the price or bargain away. In other words, the artist is exploited and paid a token for a great job. Well done. In Song of Chickens, we have the image of leader who was once sincere in his pursuit of freedom, who genuinely shielded his subjects, but who has now turned against them. To Mapanje, some African leaders have metamorphosed into despots, collaborating with the imperialist world. Some have been collaborated with South Africa and with the former white-controlled Mozambique and Rhodesia to suppress the citizens of their own countries. Master, you talked with bows, arrows, and catapults once, your hands steaming with hog blood to protect your chicken. Why do you talk with knives now, your hands steaming with eggshell and hot blood from your own chickens? Is it to impress your visitors? The new platform dances depict a contrast between traditional dances as acceptably performed in the past and what seems to be a caricature of them in modern Malawi. The protagonist will at first appear to be someone in the position of President Kamuzu Banda, boasting about having scattered nervous women, and then entice them back and with fly whisk magic. However, it becomes clear that this is a voice from the past commenting satirically and butterfly in a manner similar to that of Okot P. Bitex Lawino. Now, when I see my daughter's wreath under cheating abstract, voices of slack drums ululate to babble idea men masks without amulet or anklets, why don't I stand up to show them how we danced Chopa, how it was born? Why do I sit still? Why does my speech choke? like I have not danced before. Aren't I danced the bigger dance? Haven't I? Another point of interest here is how Mapanjes gives advice to senior government officials in poems like On the Royal Blindness Paramount Chief Wangela, Making Our Clowns Martyr, and When This Carnival Finally Closes. The interesting thing about Mapanje's depiction is that it's a reflection of the happenings in Africa. In When This truthful carnival finally closes, brother, when your carnival finally veins dry, these very officers will burn the scripts of the praises we sang for you, and scatter the calabashes you drank from your charm. These drums and the effigies blazing will become the accomplices to your lie-achieved world. Your bamboo hut on the beach, they will make a bonfire under the cover of giving their hero a true traditional burial. Though in truth, to rid themselves of another deadly spirit that might otherwise have haunted them, and at the wake new masked dancers will quickly leap into the arena dancing to Taifa skins, boasting other clans of calabashes as the undertaker's jest. What did he think he would become? A god? The devil! Mapanje's poetry is that of a social crisis who is dismayed at the way things are going in his society, the loss of freedom, and what he views as a degeneration of culture and other values. His work is protest poetry, performing the same function as those of other prominent African writers. According to Ngara, Mapanje's preoccupation as a poet are essentially cause for satire. But how has he used satire? The key to his artistic method is hinted at the cryptic introduction to the volume, 1990 Ditto 162. The verse in this volume spans from some the turbulent years in which I have been attempting to find a voice of voice as a way of preserving some sanity. Obviously, where person voices are too easily muffled, this is a difficult task. One is tempted like the chameleon who failed to deliver Chiunta's message of life to back in one's brilliant camouflage, but the exercise has been, if nothing else, therapeutic, and that's no mean word in our circumstance. 1983 Ditto 14. From the above, it is crystal clear that Malawi has become a despot state, where oppression and censorship has become the order of the day. Mapanje's voice is muffled. What he has to say is said carefully, indirectly, and offer a cryptic fashion. As a result, his poems turns out to be very difficult to interpret, especially for the reader who is not familiar with Malawi oral traditions and political faith. In line with this, Mapanje has gone ahead to evolve a consistent aesthetic ideology deriving from the historical and social situations under which he writes. It reveals certain stylistic features which we shall examine in the next subheading. Mapanje's stylistics features. The first obvious feature in Mapanje's poetry is its extensive use of Malawian myths and oral traditions. This is evident in the poems on Chiuta and on Chingwe's Owl and many others. It is also evident in the titles of his works. In these works, Mapanje relies on myths for the interpretation of his poems. According to Ngara, in Mapanje's and other Malawian writers' myths are used primarily as a way of communication rather than a means of recapturing the past. 1990 Ditto 163. For Mapanje, the method gives rise to a dialectical process. The use of oral traditions in poetry has led to an abiding interest in orature, as evidenced by the publication of Oral Poetry from Africa, 1983, which indeed helps to keep tradition alive. To Mapanje, this mythical style allows a poet to be a chameleon to convert ebony beauty from a human being to wood and vice versa. In Mapanje, this method brings in elements of allegory with poet at two levels, a superficial and a deeper level. This is evident in poems like Songs of Chickens, The Tussle. In these poems, animals are used as embodiments and representations meant to portray individuals. Similarly, Banda becomes Chiwota and Malawi remains Chingwe's whole. Satire, according to Ngara, is a very common feature of African orature, and one of the forms takes is apostrophe, a device of speaking as if the poet or protagonist were directly addressing a particular person or audience. 1990, Ditto 163. In Mapanje, apostrophe has peculiar punch, driving the point home in a hard and pinching manner. The duality of apostrophe and the lampoon give rise to a vivid chromatic element in the poetry. In the making, our clowns martyrs, hard luck, my friend, but we all know what currents have stroked your temper. You come from a breed of toxic frogs, croaking beside the smoking marshes of River Shah, and the first words you breathed were snapped by the leather mosquitoes of this morass. We know you would wade your way through the arena, though we wondered how you had got chosen for the bends. Like the above, to give the satire a bite, he employs the combination of lampoon and apostrophe. Though he appears to be sympathizing with the persona, in reality, he is shedding crocodile tears. These are creative styles that could have been invented by a skillful poet, as evident in the work of Jack Mapanje. Study session summary. Mapanje's preoccupations as a poet are essentially cause for satire. He also uses the myths and Malawian oral tradition to depict the realities, that is political and social, in his domain. No wonder he has been tagged as the chameleon artist. We have come to the end of study session 13. Thanks for listening.